If you've been online lately, you've probably seen exosome serums being sold as the next skincare miracle. They're saying it boosts collagen, regenerates skin, and might even replace your retinol. And every time the beauty industry says that, I ask one question. Is this real science? Or is this the same story with a new word? Because exosomes didn't start in skincare. They started in medical research. And what happened next is a very familiar story. So let's talk about exosomes, because this part is actually interesting, to me anyway. They come from medical research, specifically regenerative medicine. Scientists were studying how cells communicate, heal wounds, and repair tissue. Exosomes are basically tiny message bubbles that cells send to each other, carrying instructions like heal, repair, calm inflammation. And for a long time, this research has lived in labs, hospitals, and clinical studies. Then, exosomes started appearing in aesthetic clinics, used after lasers or microneedling to help the skin recover faster. And that is where the story changes. Because once something moves from medicine to aesthetics, the beauty industry doesn't see science, it sees a margin. And when science meets skincare marketing, the story usually changes. So once exosomes leave the lab and enter skincare marketing, the promises get big very quickly. They're sold as boosting collagen, as regenerating skin, as something that speeds up post-procedure healing, and in some launches, as an all-in-one serum that could replace retinol, vitamin C, peptides, and even hyaluronic acid, which is a lot to put on one ingredient, especially when some of these bottles cost hundreds. You'll notice something else too. Almost all these claims are wrapped in medical language. And most of these claims aren't completely false. They're just taken out of context. Because what exosomes can do in medical research isn't automatically what a serum could do on intact skin at home. So let's slow this right down and look at what the evidence actually shows. Okay, here's the science in plain English, without the marketing fog. Exosomes are what scientists call extracellular vesicles. They are tiny, membrane-bound particles that cells naturally release. They're not cells, they don't divide, they don't regenerate anything by themselves. What makes them interesting is what they carry. Inside exosomes, you can find proteins, lipids, and genetic signals, things like mRNA and microRNA. Basically, instructions that can influence how other cells behave. And in the body, cells use these packets to communicate. Immune cells do it, skin cells do it, even cancer cells do it. It's one of the ways your body coordinates inflammation, repair, and healing. The easiest way to think about exosomes is this. They're DMs for your cells. One cell sends a message, another cell receives it, reads it, and changes its behavior, like calm down, start repairing, make more of this protein. That's why exosomes are being studied seriously in medicine for wound repair, tissue repair, and drug delivery. In skincare, it's complicated because for a serum to actually work, a few things have to be true at the same time. First, what kind of exosomes are we talking about? Because exosomes isn't one thing. Some are human-derived, usually from platelets or stem cell cultures. These are ones studied most in medical research, and they're also the most regulated. Some are plant-derived, from things like green tea. They're safer and easier to sell, but they don't carry human growth signals. And some products use lab-made exosome-like particles, basically delivery bubbles designed to carry familiar ingredients like vitamin C or azelaic acid. So when a brand says exosome serum, that could mean very different things with very different biological effects. The next problem is stability. In medical research, exosomes are stored frozen, handled carefully, and used quickly. In skincare, they're bottled, shipped, stored at room temperature, and sit on shelves for months. Even experts admit we don't currently have a reliable way to guarantee that exosomes stay intact and biologically active for the full life of a cosmetic product. So a brand can tell you how many exosomes went into the bottle, but not how many are doing anything by the time you put it on your face. Then there's the delivery. Your skin's main job is to keep things out. That's literally what the skin barrier is for. Exosomes are very small, so maybe they can penetrate, but the evidence here is still early. And a lot of the strongest results you'll hear about come from post-procedure skin, after microneedling or lasers, not from everyday use on intact skin. What works on wounded or freshly treated skin doesn't automatically work the same way in a normal morning routine. And finally, the evidence. There are some promising early studies, but they're small, short-term, and often lack proper control groups. That doesn't mean exosomes do nothing. It means we're still in the early signal stage, not that this replaces retinol stage. So, for exosomes to really work in skincare, they need the right source, stay stable, reach the right cells, and be backed by strong evidence. And right now, that full chain isn't consistently there. And this brings us to the part that brands rarely say out loud. Not all exosomes are equal. If you remember one thing from this video, remember this. The word exosome tells you nothing about what the product can actually do. The source determines the message, and the message determines the result. And exosomes are just the messenger. So once you understand that, the price tags, the claims, and the regulations suddenly make a lot more sense. Okay, let's put the marketing to one side and do this properly. If exosome skincare really works the way it's been sold, the evidence should be clear. So let's treat this like a trial. First, to be fair, there are some encouraging signals. A handful of small human studies and pilot trials show improvements in things like skin texture, redness, elasticity, and healing. One commonly cited study followed around 50 people using a topical human-derived exosome product for about 12 weeks. Most participants reported visible improvements, and skin samples showed increased collagen in treated areas. There are also reviews pulling together early data suggesting exosomes may help with wound healing and post-procedure recovery. So this isn't imaginary science, something is happening. But this is where context matters, because when you look closely at these studies, they're small, many aren't blinded or placebo-controlled, meaning people knew they were using an advanced product. And that matters, because expectation alone can change how skin looks and feels. Some studies involve injections or post-procedure skin, which is not the same thing as applying a serum at home on intact skin. And critically, there is no clear agreement yet on which exosomes, at what dose, delivered how, produce reliable results. Even dermatologists who find the science interesting say the data just isn't strong enough or consistent yet. Independent experts keep saying the same thing. The research is early, the results are preliminary, and the hype has moved faster than the data. One dermatologist put it bluntly, they wouldn't trade their retinoid for exosomes yet. So here's the verdict. It's promising, but not proven enough to justify the hype, especially not the price. Okay, this is the boring part, which usually means the most important. Because whenever a skincare ingredient starts borrowing language from medicine, the first question should always be, who's actually regulating this? In the US, the FDA have been very clear about one thing. Injected or intravenous exosome therapies are not approved. And the FDA has explicitly warned clinics against marketing them as treatments. That's because once exosomes are used to treat disease, heal tissue, or regenerate cells, then they're no longer cosmetics. They're biological drugs. And drugs require evidence, trials, and oversight. But here's where skincare slips through. As long as a product is sold as cosmetic, no disease claims, no injection claims, it doesn't need the same level of approval. So you'll see very careful wording. Same implication, very different regulation. And this leads to the real issue, quality control. Exosomes are biological material. So the obvious questions are, where did they come from? How were they processed? How were they stored? And how do we know they're still intact? Right now, there's no standard requirement for brands to prove how many active exosomes are still functional by the time that you use the product, which means 2 bottles, both labeled Exosome Serum, could be wildly different in quality. So let's be practical. Topical exosome products are lower risk than injecting anything. Please don't inject things that you bought online. But the Wild West issue isn't safety alone. It's quality, sourcing, and claims racing ahead of evidence. And once you see that regulatory gap, the prices, the influencer hype, and the urgency to try it now start to make sense. Whenever something new explodes this fast in skincare, I always ask the same question. Who's making money for this? Because exosomes aren't just a skincare trend, they're a business model. So firstly, exosomes sound medical. They borrow the language of biotech, cell signaling, regenerative, clinical grade, which instantly justifies higher prices. You're not buying a serum, you're buying the idea that this is closer to medicine than moisturizer. Secondly, exosomes are perfect for the influencer economy. They're new, they're complicated, and most people don't feel confident questioning them. So they work brilliantly in before and afters, sponsored content, and clinic upsells, especially after treatments like microneedling or lasers. Once a clinic adopts them, skincare brands follow on. Once skincare brands launch them, influencers amplify them, and round it goes. And finally, there's the oldest trick in beauty. A new ingredient resets the spending cycle. It doesn't matter if your routine already works. Suddenly, you're missing out again. New ingredient, new claims, new price point. Same anxiety, same result. This isn't just skincare. It's a business model. So the real question isn't, are exosomes evil? It's whether the way they're being sold makes sense for you. So after all of that, here's the part that actually matters. Not do exosomes work in theory, but should you spend your money on one? So here's the simple decision tree. Ask yourself, are your basics actually solid? If you're still skipping sunscreen, jumping between products, or hoping one serum will fix everything, don't start with exosomes. Your biggest returns will still come from the boring stuff. Daily SPF, a gentle cleanser, a decent moisturizer, and one proven active, like retinoid or azelaic acid. No advanced ingredient outperforms consistency. Are you post-procedure and guided by a professional? If you've had microneedling, lasers, or another in-clinic treatment, and a qualified dermatologist recommends a specific exosome product, then maybe. This is where the evidence is strongest, as a recovery booster, not a miracle. But it should be targeted, time-limited, and transparent about sourcing. Next, is it 250 quid with vague science? If a bottle costs hundreds, but the brand won't clearly tell you where the exosomes come from, how they're tested, or what evidence they're relying on, that's a no. High price without high transparency is a red flag, not a premium feature. Is it a 20 to 40 quid plant exosome serum? If it's plant-derived exosomes in an affordable serum, treat it like what it actually is, a soothing, brightening, supportive product. Enjoy it if your skin likes it. Just don't expect regeneration, collagen building, or age reversal. Exosomes don't override the fundamentals. They sit on top of them, and only sometimes. If you buy them from a place of curiosity, that's fine. But if you feel pressured, rushed, or like you're behind without them, pause. Skincare should help you feel more in control, not less. Here's the real takeaway. Exosomes aren't automatically a scam. The science behind them is real, interesting, but it's still developing. The way they're being sold to you is very familiar. Big promises, vague science, and the suggestion that you're missing out if you don't keep up. You're not. Skincare works best when it's boring, consistent, and evidence-led, not when it's chasing the newest word on the label. If you want, I can do a follow-up ranking exosome brands by evidence and transparency, not marketing. Let me know in the comments. You don't need more products. You need better information.